Cougar has a brand new case and it is looking speedy. And I've got the need for speed, so let's see what we can do with it. Now, I told you guys at Computex I really wanted to do a build in this, and we made it happen. We've got the case on hand, and what a case it is, guys. You can see it's on a slight angle. What that does is it brings up the front a little more and provides more airflow for the front. Down here, there is actually a fan that is pre-installed and comes with the case, and the design of this channel right here directs all of the air from that fan straight up and into the GPU. So straight off the bat, we've got better cooling performance. Now, I want to bring your attention to the front here. It's not just a design to be unique on the market. The glass is actually designed to be precisely at 105.5 degrees because Cougar did testing with the FV270 and found that that was the best cooling performance. Now, if these fans at the back were completely flat and just blowing air straight into a front glass panel that was flat, it kind of loses its momentum once it touches the glass. The curvature of this glass helps to guide it and go straight into the main components. Now, the cable cover over to the side here is also developed in a way where it helps to push and guide the airflow as well. Now, speaking of cooling, we can actually fit a 280mm radiator at the side of the motherboard here. You can fit a 280mm radiator on the top of the power supply tray. Now, of course, that does depend on how thick your GPU is as well. And on the top, we can fit a 360mm radiator, but the very unique feature about the top mounting is it has multiple spots to mount it in. So you can bring it forward or backwards, which will give you so much more compatibility when it comes to radiator thickness, because now you don't have to worry about colliding with your RAM, especially if you're using a high profile RAM. So we can get so much more cooling out of this case. Now, of course, you guys may have noticed that it also has the backwards connection motherboard support built into the case as well. There's so many more features to explore, and this is definitely one of my favorite cases I saw at Computex. So if you're as excited as me, stick around. If you were sick of this watermark and not being able to utilize all of Windows features, then head on over to whokeys.com. Purchase a Windows 10 Pro key for $16 or a Windows 11 Pro key for $22. Use my code IFR25 for 25% off with loads of payment methods. Copy your code from the user center and paste it here to activate. They also provide you with a step-by-step guide and 24-hour support. So I've got a few ideas in mind for the theme that I want to do this build, and I think this motherboard is going to fit in nice. This is the Z790 Aorus Elite motherboard, the white version. One thing I wish they would have done is had the PCB white as well, because a lot of it does show, but at the end of the day, we are going to make this work within our theme. Now, we've got a massive beefy heatsink to keep our NVMe drive nice and cool. Plenty of USB on the I/O as well as Wi-Fi 6E, which is not the latest and greatest anymore. However, it's going to do the job for us. My main priority right now is just to make sure that it has DDR5 support to support our RAM, and of course, we have support for our 14th gen CPU. Apart from that, I'm going for all looks for this build. Well, it's only fitting for a race car themed build to have a fast CPU. We want to make sure that we can breeze through our games. So we've got the 14700K CPU, 20 cores, 28 threads, a 5.6 gigahertz turbo frequency. We're certainly not going to be lagging behind. I tell you what, if it was my granny driving this system, that'd be a different story. Now, for our storage today, we're going with the Gamax S70 blade. This is a 1 terabyte NVMe. You can get them all the way up to 8 terabytes. And we have read speeds of 7,400 megabytes per second and write of 6,800 megabytes per second. That is over 2 times the speed of Gen 3. Now, if your motherboard does not have its own built-in heatsink for the NVMe, then it actually comes with an aluminium one, and it gives you better temperatures by up to 20%. Just for this little piece of aluminium. Now, we're going to be removing this because we do have the built-in heatsink on the motherboard and utilizing all of the PCIe 4.0 power. Now, what does this mean? We're going to have faster load times for all of our favorite programs, faster boot times for the PC itself. And guys, if you have a PS5, it's actually compatible with PS5 as well. So what I'll do is I'll get this installed and I'll show you guys a crystal disk mark of how fast this NVMe actually is. Now, for an all-white build, I need to make sure that the RAM is also matching, so we've gone with the XPG Lancer blade. This is also in white, and look how low profile that is. That means that we'll not only still have RGB lighting, well diffused as well, might I add, but we're also going to have more compatibility in terms of radiator thickness up the top of the build. They're not going to collide with these RAM sticks because of how low profile they are. It is also 6,000 megatransfers per second. So that is really good speeds, but it is also CL30 timings. So we're going to get really great performance out of these. Now they also have on-die ECC, meaning that they can correct errors in real time, so they're actually a lot more stable. And best of all, guys, with the built-in RGB, it's actually compatible with all major motherboard brands, so you're not going to have any hassles when it comes to theming the RGB lighting towards your build. Now, how do we get the maximum performance out of our 14700K CPU? We need to add in some water cooling. So I have the EK Velocity 2 CPU water block. It is a full copper block, nickel plated with the plexi accents on top so that we can see the liquid going through. And yes, it has integrated RGB as well, and we'll see how well this can actually tame the 14700K. So for the fans this time, we're actually going to be toning down the RGB a bit. I want a sleek white build, but I want some nice accenting, and that's what this delivers. We have minimal RGB on the side, but you can see that the blades, they're not going to be RGB at all, which is going to be fantastic for what we're trying to achieve here. Now these are the Unifan SL120s V2, and they look great from both sides. So it doesn't matter if I'm doing a push or a pull configuration, we're going to get some awesome aesthetics out of these. Now you guys know I love these fans just for the simple fact that they all connect together, and there's one cable coming out of them for the power and the lighting. Plus they've got some half decent performance as well. Now I just happen to have two XR5 radiators from Corsair. We've got a 360 and a 240mm version, both in white. And so it's only fitting for our white build. And this should be plenty of cooling to tame our 4080 and 14700K CPU. So this little gadget right here was kind of what gave me the idea for the race car theme. It's the Pacific TF3, and it's kind of like a car gauge, and it's got your coolant temperature, we've got ambient temp, and we've also got pressure as well. And it gave me car vibes, so we're going to install this in the build. It is functional as well, and then we can theme the rest of the build around it. So this is the EK Quantum Kinetic TBE 300 tube reservoir. It's got a D5 pump built in, and I was kind of thinking, if we're gonna be doing a race car style theme, this would look like a pretty cool NOS tank. Now, I'm not 100% sure if I'm still gonna go with that. I'm not 100% sure if I'm still gonna go with this big of a tube reservoir, but I definitely want a tube reservoir in there if I can make it work. Now, the colors that I wanna use don't necessarily mimic a NOS tank color, but I can make my own version of the NOS tank to make it work if I think that is going to fit the theme in the end. Now for our graphics card, we're going with a Tough Gaming RTX 4080 graphics card, and I have fully water blocked it as well. It's amazing how much of the footprint of the graphics card is actually reduced just by taking off the stock cooler and putting a water block on it. The stock card is literally out here, and it's literally this thick, and now we've gone to this thick and that size. That's just incredible. The good thing about that is, and I really appreciate that we're able to do this, is by reducing the footprint, we can now fit extra radiator thickness. We can fit extra reservoirs inside the build. Just gives us so much more space to work with, especially if we want to do some customization in there. This just frees up so much space. Now, I'm really excited about this power supply for a number of reasons. This is the XPG Core Reactor 2. It is an ATX 3.0 power supply with a built-in 12-volt high-powered header, which can directly go from the power supply and power our high-end RTX 4000 series GPUs. Now, this is 80 plus gold efficiency, so we actually get peak efficiency around 50% load, which is absolutely fantastic for an 80 plus gold certified power supply. Now, most PSUs on the market have around 5 to 6 protections. This one actually has 8 built in. Now, I'm not gonna name them all, but I will leave a link down below if you wanna find out a little bit more about this power supply. But the main reason that we really want this for this build is because it's white. We got great efficiency, a white power supply, it's gonna suit our theme, and most of all, handle our RTX 4080 graphics card. A little something special I built for the PC. Got a mini spoiler.
So good. That is awesome.
There we go, look at that.